All right, and here we go again. All right, so this is that quick follow-up lesson. This is Algebra 1, Unit 2, Lesson 5, Graphing Horizontal and Vertical Lines. This is a very kind of quick lesson, but we do have an opener here to get you going, get you working, and we are going to do that on Desmos.com. All right, so this is also going to be a little bit of an introduction to Desmos because for several of things after this and throughout the year, we use Desmos quite a bit. So you want to probably go ahead and just bookmark this on whatever browser you have, whatever Chromebook, laptop, whatever you have, and that way you can use it. So notice that we want to go to Desmos.com /calculator to do this exploration. All right, so I'm going to pull up Desmos here for you guys to see. All right, so here we go. So we can kind of see this right here. So this is where you want to go. So you can see that you can just type it in, Desmos.com /calculator. You can search and get to Desmos that way. All right, so go ahead and I'll give you a second or two to do that. If you need to pause the video for a minute to get to that, to make sure you have that up and looking at it, okay? All right, so hopefully you're at this website, and this is really a way for us to have you kind of explore some patterns, find some relationships without having to do a lot of like physical work. We're really more involved right now with the thinking process, right? I mean, it's not necessarily the physical piece of writing things down. We want you to be able to do some things very quickly, all right, draw some conclusions and go from there. So for example, it says plot these points in Desmos. So when you do that, you want to type it just like they look, right? Parentheses included. So I'm going to open my parentheses and do -3, comma, 5. All right, and then I'm going to close my parentheses. And you can see that that point shows up right up here. All right, and then what you want to do is we can see that the 2 is down here. So if I just click here, it's going to open another box for me to plot that next point. All right, so then I'm going to open that with a parenthesis, and then I can do 2, comma, 5 and close that. All right, so hopefully you feel comfortable with that. So you can see that we have those points there. All right, now if I slide this over just a little bit here, up a little bit so you can see that, all right, we want you to create an equation that goes through these 2 points and write your equation below. All right, so once again, this is kind of a guess and check kind of thing, right? And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a hint, right? It looks like when I look at these 2 points, it looks like it's a straight line, right? And we've seen some linear equations, all right? And so once again, I can just click in the box below that, and you can start typing in equations. So you can do this on your keyboard, all right? So literally y equals, and I'm just going to type an equation similar to some things that we've seen, all right, and you may have seen before, 3x plus 1. And you can see that that line, right, does not hit either of those points, right? So I'm not doing very well with that line, right? And I'm going to just play with this guy a little bit. All right, so that's a 5. So if I take it, ooh, put a 5 there. You can see that if I change that number, put a 6 there, it gets steeper. If I put a 10 there, it gets steeper, right? You guys kind of see that? All right. So, and notice then if I come out here to this +1, I can put a 5 in. So at least if I put that 5 in, now I'm on the same thing here. And I can kind of start looking through here. And let's go like with a 0.3. What's that? It's getting closer, right? Maybe a 0.1. We're getting closer. How about a 0.01? Oh, it looks like it's really close, right? Oh, man. And so notice, all right, 0.0 is really just 0. Because we want that line to be flat, right? Okay, so if I just take this out, notice I can just put 0 here. Y equals 0, x plus 5. And what's really y? 0 times x is really just 0. So notice I can just type y equals 5. So there's my line. All right. So that's really what we want you to do is try to figure out what that looks like. So what I'd like you to do now, all right, is go ahead and pause the video. All right, so you can go ahead and pause the video, and then I'd like you to try to do problems, all right, 2 and 3 here, and we'll see how you do. So go ahead and pause the video, turn it back on, and we'll go through those problems together. Okay, so let's pull Desmos back up here real quick. All right, so there it is. Okay, so now I'm just going to click these out. I'm going to plot, all right, -1, -4. I can see that's down here, it's in purple. All right, I can do 5, -4. I can see it's there in black. And then hopefully, all right, you paid attention to that first one. I kind of gave it away, right? Not much of an exploration then. But can you get the line? Did you get y equals, oops, that's not equal, equals -4. So y equals -4. All right, so now if we look at our note sheets, right? So we got this right here. We had y equals 5. We had y equals -4. And we put this here so that if you wanted to do this, right? So -3, 5 would be here, right? 2, 5 is here. So you could kind of copy that and you have your line like this, correct? All right, so -1, -4, 5, -4. So you could kind of jot this down because obviously you won't have decimals in front of you later, right, to kind of see that, right? So there's our equations. All right, so now when we go through this, when you look at the set of points in problem 1 and problem 2, what do those 2 points have in common? So let's go back up here. So when you look at this, what do these 2 points have in common? Notice that, right? And if we think about a point, every point is an x and a y. Well, what are both these y's right here? Both of those y's are 5, and notice what's our equation here? Y equals 5. All right, so if we look here, what do these 2 have in common? Both their y coordinates are the same. All right, so that means y is equal to -4. All right, so, all right, notice what do the 2 points have in common? They have the same y values, right? And then what do the equations have in common? Well, it's y equals whatever that value is, right? So it was y equals 5 in the first one up here, y equals -4 here. So now what type of line did we create here? Now, it's a line, and if it's going from just left to right, we call that a horizontal line. And then what is the slope of this horizontal line? Well, notice there's no rise, right? So we said slope is rise over run in our last session. And there is no rise. We don't go up. We run a little bit, right? So we run to the right, however many we are. So I think that's 6 in that case. So the slope of that horizontal line is 6. Okay, so now there's a second part to this. So we have this. Now I'd like you to go through and try to do 4, 5, and 6. So once again, pause the video, try to do these 3 questions, and we'll turn it back on and see how you did. All right, so now let's go through this. All right, so if I look at Desmos here, let me pull this back up for you guys. All right, and clear this out. All right, so if we plot our points here, we have -7, -3. All right, and we have -7, 4. All right, so now look at those points. Now, instead of being horizontal, they are vertical, right? Vertical. Now, actually, I'm going to come down and look at question 6 here. So when we look at the set of points in problem 4 and problem 5, what do they have in common? So if I come back up here, they have this in common, right? It's just opposite of what we just did. So instead of having the y's in common, what do they have? They have the x's in common. So that means we need everything to be x equals -7. So now, let me see if I can type that in here. X equals -7. There's my line. It's a vertical line now, right? Perfect, right? Okay, so hopefully you managed that. So let me go back here. Let's do number 5 here. So we plot the point 3, -2, and we plot the point 3, 6, right? Now, once again, we can see these points are vertical. All right? What do these 2 points have in common? They have 3. They have 3. They have the same x, right? So for both of these points, x equals 3. So by writing down what they have in common, you have created the equation. All right, and I can test it here. So this is where we wanted you to type it in to make sure you're good. So x equals 3 works well. All right, so perfect there. So now let's go down to problem 6. So we already talked about what do they have in common, right? They have the same x coordinate, right? The same x value. All right, and what do these 2 equations have in common? Well, because they have the same x value, they both are x equals. All right, and now, opposite of what we just did with y equals, what type of line did we create for both of these? Now it is a vertical line, right? Okay, now, so I'm going to plot this just so we can talk about slope. So we have 3, -2 right here, and we have 3, 6 right here, correct? All right, so once again, when we talk about this, we say rise over run is our slope. Now notice I'm going up or down here. I'm going up and down here, right? So when I go from this point to this point, I go up 8. But notice there is no run. Now that 0 is in the denominator. Now, this is not 0. 8 divided by 0, right? And I'm going to pull my calculator here just to show you, right? So if I did 8 divided by 0, notice what it tells me. Error, you can't divide by 0. We have a special word for that. We say this slope is undefined. All right, so that wraps up our introduction to graphing horizontal and vertical lines. So what you need to do, all right, is go ahead and turn the video off and do your video check-in, and then we will see you in class, all right, next time. So have a great time. I believe I'm doing this, and this is going to lead into your weekend, right? I think this is Friday afternoon. I'm doing this a little early, so I think you have your 3-day weekend because I think this is Labor Day weekend. So catch up on some work, have some fun, watch a video, check in with some friends and family, take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.